this one tonight. I hope I don't wander, but greetings from the Danville area and the Danville Tea Party. It's kind of nice to have to be here in Lynchburg, thanks to Kurt and Mark, and I've talked to Mark many times. Actually, when I first decided to run as an independent candidate, I was the first person that contacted me was your Dana Hale. And she grilled me for about an hour and a half on where I stood on each issue, and I think maybe we've exchanged 10 or 15 emails since that particular point. So I knew coming here tonight that I better be prepared to answer any questions or where I may stand on the issues. Now, I know from some previous statements before, people are very concerned about an independent candidate running, and I can understand that. And I'm a very practical man as far as that's concerned. I believe, though, that we need to send a message to both parties. These parties have betrayed us. One party is not any better than the other. They're only slightly less worse. When we look at what we're doing, at this last election, I stopped and I said, how do we keep going down this road? Why do we keep getting what we've always gotten? And the truth of the matter is the reason is because we keep voting from a position of fear. We keep thinking that we have to compromise our principles, we have to compromise our stands, just so we can put our guy with an R in office. I am a lifelong Republican. I have voted Republican every single election since I was old enough to vote. I became politically aware about the time Ronald Reagan came into office. There was no clear-cut distinction between what conservatism was and what liberalism was. And every election cycle, I followed through with that vote. But at this election cycle, I was disappointed. I went to the polls. I wasn't excited about going to the polls. I wasn't excited about pushing that button for John McCain. And I swore that it would never happen again. Never again was I going to go into the polls and vote for someone that I did not feel that I could believe in or that would support my values or the values of the entire district. It is not about conservatism for the Republican Party. Now, I know many of you in here are Republicans, but I'd like to illustrate it this way. If by a long shot I were to get elected and I were to go to Washington, I could caucus with the Republican Party to give them control. I could vote every single vote in exact accordance with the Republican Party. I could find great Republican candidates that stood for reform and wanted to see things happen different in Washington. But make no mistake about it, at the beginning of the 2012 election cycle, I would get a knock on my door from the RNC with the following demand. You put an R beside your name or we are going to fund and run an opponent against you. Is it about conservative votes? Is it about conservative values? Or is it about expanding the influence and power of individual parties? And I think that we all need to consider that before we head into that booth during the next election. Now, again, I mentioned a moment ago that I'm a practical man. And I believe sometimes some change is better than none, and sometimes change within is better than change without. And there are several candidates that I can support. And I have pledged to 6 of these candidates, as things stand right now, that if they can secure the nomination, I will drop my candidacy and put my support behind them. I think they match the energy and the desire of the people in this room. They're standing up, they're walking away from their business or stepping out of their businesses to try to serve their country. They are not in this pipeline of infected politicians. You know, it's kind of, my wife and I own a lab, and we have people bring us water samples all the time. And they'll bring a sample and it comes back and it fails because it's contaminated. And then they bring back another sample and it fails because it's contaminated. Well, we have to eventually tell them that you have to do something to shock the source. Well, when we start and when we advance institutionalized Republicans, we do nothing to decontaminate the source. The Tea Party can send a message to both parties, and it can shock both parties by how they decide to move from here. Now, I would never ask anyone to vote for me because I'm a Tea Party member. I don't believe that at all. Look at where I stand on the issues. If you feel where I stand on the issues reflects your beliefs, your passions, and your direction for where you think our government needs to go, then I hope that you would, with courage, step out and consider voting for an independent. I really hope that on June 8th, that we go to the primary, and I know that I will go to the primary, and I will cast my vote, but I want to make sure we cast a vote for a true conservative, not a situational conservative who dons his conservatism or becomes more conservative during election time. one that truly wants to represent the people, and one that can unite us. Okay, guys, that's it. Sorry about that.